manufacturers killed the most reliable sled ever built. Not because it broke down, because it didn't. A machine you can fix yourself in a parking lot with a flathead screwdriver is a machine you never bring to the dealer. And a customer who never comes to the dealer is a customer they can't profit from. So they pulled the plug on 40 years of proven, simple, field repairable engineering and sold you complexity instead. On purpose. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact machines that defined the fan-cooled era, names and years, the real reason manufacturers killed them off, the dirty secret Bombardier doesn't want you to remember, and where you can still find a running fan-cooled legend in 2026 for under $1,500. Let's picture this together. Northern Minnesota, February 1979. Saturdays smelled like two-stroke exhaust and hops number 9. Your neighbor Dave had a 1977 Ski-Doo Blizzard 9500, fan-cooled, 440 cubic centimeters Rotax. That thing was a monster for its time. Pulled hard, ran clean, and Dave never lost sleep over it. Your uncle was on a Polaris TXL, fan-cooled Fuji engine. He'd put 12,000 miles on it, and the only thing he'd replaced were spark plugs and a drive belt. You started on a 1975 Arctic Cat Kitty Cat, tiny fan-cooled Tecumseh. Beat on it constantly. It never quit. This was snowmobiling before it got complicated. The fan-cooled era ran from roughly 1968, when modern snowmobiles started replacing the clunky first-gen machines, all the way through the early 1990s. 3 decades of straightforward, mechanical, rebuildable engines. Engines a guy with a wrench, a climber manual, and a Saturday afternoon could actually understand. The 4 major manufacturers all built their empires on fan-cooled technology. Ski-Doo used Rotax, Arctic Cat ran Kawasaki and their own Austrian-sourced engines. Polaris went with Fuji. Yamaha developed their own in-house. And every single one of those power plants shared one quality that the marketing guys never put in the brochure. They were forgiving. You could run them lean, you could run them hard, you could run them in -40 and they didn't care. Let me get specific here, because general is useless. The Yamaha Enticer 340, built from 1980 through 1993. Fan-cooled, 340 cubic centimeters twin. Came in at about $2,800 new in 1985. 26 pounds of light per horsepower, a carb setup so simple you could rebuild it in a parking lot with a flathead screwdriver. Owners routinely put 15 to 20,000 miles on them with nothing but spark plugs, belts, and track clips. The same 340 cubic centimeters Yamaha architecture ended up in their ultralight aircraft engines. That's how bulletproof those mills were. They trusted them to keep people airborne. The Arctic Cat Jag, the 3000 and 5000 series, built through the mid-80s with Kawasaki fan-cooled engines. The Jag 3000 had a 294 cubic centimeter single cylinder that revved to 8,000 revolutions per minute and made about 33 horsepower. Not fast by any standard, but a 1983 Jag 3000 weighing 340 pounds, running on basic premix, needing 0 from a dealer for a decade, that's a different kind of impressive. The Arctic Cat Jag may be the most sold snowmobile of its era. Guides used them, trappers used them. People who could not afford to be stranded 40 miles from a road chose them on purpose. And the Ski-Doo Blizzard 9500. Fan-cooled, 440 cubic centimeters. Rotax ran from 1975 through 1984. This was Ski-Doo's performance halo in the fan-cooled era. Race-inspired, proven, stupid reliable in ways that embarrassed machines that cost twice as much. Dealers moved these faster than they could order them in peak years. Wait until you hear what Ski-Doo decided to do with it. I'll get there in a minute. Bear with me as I tell you this. A fan-cooled snowmobile engine works exactly how it sounds. Air is forced across cooling fins on the cylinder by a belt-driven fan. Engine heat dumps directly into the outside air. The colder it is outside, the better the engine runs. In a liquid-cooled system, coolant circulates through a water jacket around the cylinder, then dumps heat through a radiator or heat exchangers, usually built into the tunnel or running boards. Liquid-cooled sounds more sophisticated, and it is. Fan-cooled engines in a snowmobile environment have an actual thermal advantage below about -15 Celsius, which is a normal winter day across the snow belt. The colder the air, the more aggressively the cooling fins shed heat. You can push a fan-cooled sled hard in deep cold and it just runs better. But I'll not sugarcoat it. Early liquid-cooled sleds overheated catastrophically in low-speed or deep powder conditions, because heat exchangers in the tunnel work by snow contact. You're moving fast, snowpacks against the tunnel, coolant temp stays in range. But park for 5 minutes in deep powder, stop to help a buddy, idle down a tight trail, snow stops moving across those exchangers. Coolant temp spikes. The engine cooks. The fan-cooled Yamaha Entizer next to you? Didn't care. Air is air. Fan runs off the belt. Temperature controlled. Ask anyone who rode both formats in the late 80s. The liquid-cooled guys were nervous. The fan-cooled guys weren't. Ski-Doo pulled the trigger first. 1985, the Formula Series launched with Rotax liquid-cooled engines, 377 cubic centimeters and 467 cubic centimeters, and Bombardier's marketing hammered the message. Liquid cooling was the future. Fan-cooled was old. If you were serious about snowmobiling, you made the switch. Arctic Cat followed within 2 years. Polaris was moving that direction. Yamaha, slower than the others, kept fan-cooled models in production longer, and that quiet loyalty to the old format is part of why Yamaha built such fierce devotion from a specific kind of rider. Now here's what the ads didn't show you. The 1986 and 1987 Ski-Doo Formula sleds had a documented head gasket failure rate that dealers quietly dreaded. The early Rotax liquid-cooled mills, specifically the 467 cubic centimeters, were blowing head gaskets at a rate that made warranty departments sweat. Meanwhile, the Rotax 503, the fan-cooled twin that powered Ski-Doo's previous performance machines, was still happily running in sleds across the snow belt with zero drama. So, what did Ski-Doo do? Of course, they discontinued the Blizzard 9500 in 1984 to force the market toward the new liquid-cooled lineup. They killed their most proven performance product to sell something with bugs they already knew about. Check this out. This is where it gets crazy. Manufacturers killing fan-cooled wasn't just about performance claims. It was all about revenue architecture. A 1986 Yamaha Enticer, 340 fan-cooled owner's annual maintenance cost, if he did his own work, roughly $60 to $90. Spark plugs, belt, track clips, fresh 2-stroke oil. That's it. The carburetor, a simple Mikuni slide carb, could be rebuilt for $14 in parts. Dealer service revenue from that guy, basically zero. Now take a 1991 liquid-cooled Arctic Cat ZR 580 owner. Annual maintenance suddenly includes coolant flush, thermostat inspection, heat exchanger cleaning, coolant hose inspection. Any failure point in that system goes straight to the dealer. Coolant hose at 40 below, cracks in the backcountry? You're not fixing that with the tools you carried. Dealer service revenue from the liquid-cooled guy. $300 to $600 a year minimum. Way more if anything breaks. And the sleds themselves cost more. A 1988 Ski-Doo Formula Plus liquid-cooled listed at $5,200. The Enticer 340 fan-cooled, $2,800, nearly double. Higher margin on the unit, higher service dependency after the sale, lower warranty simplicity on fan-cooled, which was always cheaper to fix. When you look at it that way, Killing Fan-Cooled wasn't about giving riders better machines. It was about building a better customer, one who needed the dealer for almost everything. Quick pause. If you rode Fan-Cooled and you know exactly what I'm talking about, hit that like button. Let's see how many of us are left. Sadly, I believe we lost a culture there. Fan-Cooled sleds were mechanical conversations between a man and a machine. Saturday afternoon, sled in the garage, dad showing his kid how to pull a carb, clean the float bowl, set the needle clip position. A 12-year-old could understand every system, could name every part, could diagnose most problems with his ears and hands. The Polaris TXL fan-cooled Fuji engine had 7 moving parts in the top end. 7. You could rebuild the entire head in 2 hours with a torque wrench and a gasket kit from the dealer. $14 in 1987 money. The 1993 Arctic Cat ZR 580 liquid cooled that replaced it? Coolant system alone had 17 potential failure points. Thermostat, water pump, impeller seal, head gasket, overflow tank, every foot of hose. None of it teachable in a single afternoon. That transition ended the garage tradition for a lot of families. Dad couldn't teach what he didn't understand. Kids couldn't learn what required a dealership computer to diagnose. The machines got faster. The bond between rider and machine got thinner. And nobody in a marketing department ever put that in a brochure. Yes, not everyone abandoned Fan-Cooled. Ski-Doo kept fan-cooled engines in their Tundra line all the way through the 2000s. Because up in the Yukon, minus 45 is Tuesday, and nobody wants a liquid-cooled system anywhere near that temperature if they have a choice. Arctic Cat sold fan-cooled Panther models well into the early 2000s. Trail riders who didn't want performance, just reliability. The same customer who kept the Jag alive for a decade. Yamaha produced the Enticer series through 1993, a full decade after the liquid-cooled marketing push started, because there was a stubborn, practical customer who wouldn't move. That customer was right. In 2026, a well-maintained 1989 Yamaha Enticer 340 is worth $800 to $1,500 depending on condition. It starts. It runs. The parts, carb kits, belts, tracks are still available through vintage suppliers like Dennis Kirk and Sudco International. A guy who knows carburetors can keep one running essentially forever. A 1994 Polaris Indy 600 liquid-cooled from the same era? Good luck. Simplicity has a shelf life. Complexity expires faster. Drop a comment if you still have a running fan-cooled sled. Tell me the year, make, and miles. I want to know what's still alive out there. Let's talk actual math for a second. Average annual cost of ownership on a mid-1980s fan-cooled sled in $26, adjusted for everything, roughly $200 to $350. Belt, plugs, oil, occasional carb rebuild, that's it. Average annual cost of ownership on a modern 2024 liquid-cooled performance sled, Ski-Doo M3X-Z 850, Polaris Indy X-C 850, Arctic Cat ZR 9000, including scheduled maintenance, coolant service, drive system, dealer diagnostic fees, conservatively $1,000 to $1,800 per year. And that's if nothing breaks. The sled itself costs $18,000 to $24,000 new. A 2024 Yamaha Sidewinder XTX, their top liquid-cooled turbocharged machine, lists at $23,999. The 1988 Yamaha Enticer 440, adjusted for 2024 inflation, would cost about $7,200 today. Manufacturers are charging 3 times that for a machine that requires a dealership to diagnose. Nobody forced that on us. That was a choice manufacturers made, and we went along with it because we got seduced by horsepower numbers. The Enticer made 38 horsepower, The Sidewinder makes 180. But if the Sidewinder sits dead in your garage because a dealer 3 hours away has a 2-week backlog on warranty work, and the Enticer starts on the first pull, which machine actually works? If we don't do anything, in 5 or 10 years, the last generation of writers who personally understand fan-cooled mechanics will be in their 70s and 80s. When they're gone, that knowledge disappears. Manufacturers already wrote us off. Arctic Cat's parent company, Textron, is focused on maximizing margins on modern complex sleds. Ski-Doo's BRP parent reports to shareholders who want quarterly growth. They're not going back to simple. So, let's be practical. What you can actually do right now. First, if you want back into snowmobiling without the modern complexity and cost, fan-cooled is your entry point. Target years 1982 through 1993. Best bets: Yamaha Enticer, 340 or 440. Arctic Cat Jag, 3000 or 5000. Late model Ski-Doo Elan or Citation Fan Cooled. Polaris Indy 400 trail models from the early transition era. All of these have strong parts support through vintage suppliers. Facebook Marketplace and local snowmobile clubs are your hunting grounds. A running Enticer in fair shape goes for $600 to $1,200. If you know carburetors, that's a weekend project and a winter of free riding. Second, before you buy, do 3 checks. Pull the recoil. Does it have compression resistance? If the rope pulls too easy, rings are gone. Remove a spark plug and look at the electrode color. Tan to light gray is healthy. Black and wet is a rich condition you can tune out. White is lean, possible overheating history. Run it. Listen for a steady exhaust note. Irregular firing usually means a reed valve or carb problem, both fixable. Third, learn the Mikuni carb. One afternoon, one YouTube channel, one $14 rebuild kit. This single skill will keep a fan-cooled sled running for years without a dealer touching it. It also makes you the most useful guy at any trailhead when somebody's sled acts up. Fourth, join a vintage snowmobile club. Members have parts. Members have knowledge. The guys in their 60s and 70s who built and raced these machines are still showing up. They want to teach. They're running out of time to teach anyone. Connect with them now. I want to hear 2 things from you guys. 1, tell me the fan-cooled machine you remember most. Year, make, model. Something you rode or watched someone ride. Give me the details. 2, if you're one of the guys who still has a running fan-cooled sled, tell me what it takes to keep it alive in 2026. What parts are impossible to find? What's easier than you expected? Drop it all in the comments. If this video made you feel something, angry, nostalgic, both at once, hit that like button. It tells me to keep making these. And subscribe if you want honest snowmobile content.